Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Complex Like Wine, the podcast where we talk about complicated things and improve over time just like wine does. We have Lonnie this week, and then if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, I just ordered some lights for the background, so they look pretty sick. I'm really excited. But yeah, welcome on the podcast.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my god, I know we've talked about this for a bit, and Lonnie has been a huge supporter of the podcast since the beginning. So I really appreciate all the kind messages you sent out.
Yeah, of course. It's important to kind of like see people doing things that you want to do and supporting along the way. So you're one of the people when I'm like framing how I want to do my podcast, like I'm referencing yours. I'm like, what can I steal from Zaza, right? So yeah, I appreciate you just being a model, for how I'm going to kind of work mine. I'm not taking everything, no wine, but
no wine. But so before we start, we have wine. I left the bottle in the fridge. I've been doing that lately. But we have a non-alcoholic rosé. And so I'll insert a little picture if you're watching. That way people want to look. But cheers.
Cheers. What do you think?
You know what? I'm actually pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
Yeah. So sweeter than a typical rosé for my winos out there, but no, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm not a wine person. This is my first sip of wine ever. It's not alcoholic. I'm a fan. I might do this more often. It's pretty good.
Honestly, okay, so people, like, if you think of juice, like grape juice, but obviously not as sweet and sugary. So it's like the happy medium between a good dry rut or rosé versus juice. But this, especially if it's colder, would be...
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'll give you some tips on the non-alcoholic.
Yeah, I'm going to need a whole class, like a whole lesson. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. But yeah, we have a few topics that we were kind of ready to touch on. But some of the ones you suggested I really liked was Bumble BFF. The podcasting, love and companionship, and then selflessness or being like selfish, or people pleasing. So was there anyone in specific you kind of want to just start off with?
Well, first, one thing I want to do.
Yeah. Oh, please.
Is, again, like congratulate you on this podcast, especially having it going before and then taking some time off and now rebooting it. Like that's a big deal. I remember there was a day where we were going to record. And I was going through a lot of stuff, and I was like, man, I was not in the right headspace. You recommended a place to hike out here. I don't remember what it's called, but I was hiking and I was praying. Like I was like, my head is a mess. Like I just want to be like okay when I get in front of this camera. And then you were like, I'm going through some things. I'm not able to do it today. And I think you might have said anxiety. And like for me,
yeah.
And for me, like hearing that, I was like, dang, that sucks. Like, I'm really sorry. But I didn't understand it. I went through some stuff like in the next couple like months or so after that. And like now when I think, I'm like, yo, that's a big deal. Like when I had my first like anxiety attack, I was like, why can't I breathe? Why am I stuck on the floor? Like what's happening, right? And so like to know that like you were potentially going through something like that, and now you're back, that's fire.
Okay, that really means a lot, like tremendously, especially since you've always been so supportive from the beginning. Like you've been one of the people I've seen it from the very start, and reviving the podcast. Like you can tell just the setup. Like I completely indulged and splurged and invested. 2 nice cameras, light setup, everything. So, I needed that gap of it last year. Partially, I was distracted with other things. I'll be honest, but I think, again, my headspace was not in the place where I could fully commit, and had to go through all my transformative stuff earlier this year for me to be like, all right, we're realigned, and so now we're here, and I'm glad that we're finally getting to record.
And that's the thing about time, right? I think getting yourself in a good mental space, you start to be at peace with like the amount of time something takes. I know for me, I was frustrated. I was like, man, I've been talking about a podcast for clarity. I've been talking about a podcast for like 3 years, and people have been bullying me on social media. Like, why haven't you started this podcast? Right. And it used to like really like weigh on me. Like, yo, like it's taking me too long. There's no point of even doing this, right? But I know it's something that's important for me to do. And once I was able to kind of be in a better mental space and be at peace with, oh, this thing that's going to be really great, it's going to take some time to build up, and that's okay, man. Changed my life, you know. And so a lot of like the anxiety, I mean, I think we all will probably always deal with some level of anxiety throughout our lives, but I think I'm in a way better place to handle it now.
Yeah.
And it looks like you might be too.
My first panic anxiety attack ever, I was 15 or 16. And it was a very constant thing, literally up until probably end of January this year. I would say this is the first, so far, half of the year where I honestly feel like I don't have anxiety. When I went into therapy for the first time during the pandemic, they told me, oh, you have generalized anxiety disorder. And I'm like,
my goodness.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Just how I've been feeling for years. So, no, I'm in such a much better headspace. I think I finally, obviously with with therapy, I was able to start getting the tools of how to handle it better. But no, definitely in a much better headspace.
When you were like 15 or 16 first experiencing that, did you know what that was at the time?
No.
Yeah.
No, I vividly remember where I was. I was in my kitchen because our family, there was a fight going on, and I don't know why this day all of a sudden it just manifested, but I was just over my head about everything, and I literally snapped. Like I'm a very patient person, but when I snap, and just broke down crying. I couldn't breathe, trembling, hot flashes. It was insane.
Wow.
I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what was going on for years because it would just hit me every day. And I was just like, am I sick? Like, I don't understand what's happening. But I'm not going to trash talk like religious upbringings because mine wasn't like this. But I think especially if you grew up in a Christian household or you went to like Christian schools, therapy's not as openly suggested, you know? So I didn't know like that was something I needed to seek a therapist or to talk to somebody with.
Right. Yeah. I think I was raised in a similar way, but I just really didn't know about it. And it seemed like there was an extreme. Either you're like perfectly fine or you're like completely crazy. Yeah. So like if you're completely crazy do you need therapy. So like I never thought I was completely crazy. So I never even like considered it. I went to therapy for the first time because I got bored.
That's a great way to start. I love it. Please tell me more.
Yeah. So we went to the same undergrad.
Yes, we both went to the same school. Yeah.
And when we went there, I found out like I think like junior or senior year that the tuition includes like counseling sessions. And I was like, yo, I need to get my money's worth. Like, I need to just go. Like, and maybe I'll like learn something about myself, or maybe I'll just like mess with the therapist's head. Like, who knows? I have this like thing of like wanting to be different. Even coming on this podcast, I'm like, I want to make sure that we talk about something that nobody on Conflicts Like Wine has ever talked about. So I use that same approach for like therapy, and I was rudely awakened when like I was just being difficult. Like I was just in there like, yeah, you know, she's not gonna rape me. Da, 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 da. And then like 10 minutes in, it might have been less. I'm like talking about my upbringing and like how that connects to like something that I feel now. And I was like, yo, I don't like this.
You're like this. We weren't about to get vulnerable, and now we are.
No. I'm like, these things I didn't even tell nobody before. But it's nice when they have a whole setup. So like, you know, a comfortable like setup like this, and then they got the essential oil diffuser in there. Like the lights are low. It's like, oh, this is a vibe. I see. So this is like, it's kind of manipulative, but for a good purpose. I didn't do it for that long because I didn't really like, I would say like need it. But after some of like my mental health episodes, like I did do some therapy. Again, you've talked about on some of your other episodes how important it is to find the right one. I didn't really do much due diligence. I was just like, I need one because I'm going through it and I don't know what's happening to my body, to my mind. And so I just like found one. She was nice, but like you can also see sometimes like what different, because therapists need therapy. right?
Yeah.
And so you can see like what your therapist is dealing with potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like, it was maybe like the third or fourth session. I was like, hey, I'm going to be sharing a lot with you. I already have. So I'm gonna need you to like tell me about yourself, just so we're like on the same page. So we spent like half the session and she was just telling me about her upbringing, her life. But like me listening to like the things she was telling me and also like doing kind of like a little bit of like research on psychology, because I'm kind of like randomly nerdy. I'm not like one of the cool nerds. I'm like one of like the randomly. I just pick a random thing and just like dig into it, and then I'm done with that for the rest of my life. But I know a little bit, right?
I love that.
So like when I learned about like abandonment issues, I was like, oh, she has that.
Mm.
At the end of every session, she would say like, I hope I get to see you again. I hope you actually like show up. I was like, I never said I would, you know, like, but that was like a constant thing every time. And so trying to navigate like your therapist's like issues and your own was like tough for me.
Yeah.
It was tough. And I think one day I'll probably try to find the right one. I'm fortunate. I'm blessed enough to be like in a good mental space now. But I'm doing a lot more work, a lot of moving. You know how it is to have like your hand on a lot of different things.
Yeah, yeah.
And so kind of entering that space where I'm very busy, I know at some point I'm going to need someone to ground me and call me out on my shit, you know?
Yeah. No,
So,
somebody just to be like, like,
yeah.
are you good?
Yeah.
Because we need to double check.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
just to make sure the house doesn't burn down type
Exactly.
of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would say definitely therapy is important to anyone out there that was kind of like raised like I was, just not knowing. It wasn't even like people were talking bad about therapists. I just didn't know. And you're kind of like told like you just got to get through whatever it is, right? Like I come from like a long line of people that like thugged it out, you know, like blue collar people that just like they made it happen. It didn't matter what was going on around them, whether it was like things they were dealing with were like racial or economic or all the above. It was like, yo, we're gonna make it. And so I was raised like with like, yo, you're gonna make it. And I think I did well with that mentality until one day I couldn't make it. I was like, I can't even get up. Like I reached some like really low lows, especially during the pandemic. I ended up living like on my own. I had moved out to go to school, to law school. And they were like, yeah, this is going to be still in person, blah, blah, blah. And it was probably like a couple weeks before the school year started. So I moved out, got a place. And yeah, it was remote because they had to eventually. And so I was just doing remote learning like by myself because the roommate I had just was like, I'll go to my other house. I was like, man, I wish I had another house. And I'm from the East Coast. So like I didn't have family out here. I was kind of a little bit further than a lot of my friends. And with the pandemic, I didn't know like what was safe and what wasn't. I got asthma. So I was like, I don't want to trigger that. I don't know. So,
Yeah.
so I stayed inside. So I would go like weeks without human contact. I'd only like talk to people at the grocery store with my mask on. So I can't even see like their facial expression. Yeah. And that's big for me. Like I enjoy being around people. I recharge alone, but I enjoy being around people. And so a lot of other things happened and I found myself with like feeling like a lack of purpose. As I'm watching like the world outside me implode, like the inside of me like was imploding. Because I always felt like I was here to have like a very profound impact on the world. And I was like, yo, there might not be hope. Like nobody can unify around anything. I don't know what's real and what's not. And I don't know how I'm going to change it. And I don't see that right now, like law school being a vehicle for that right now. And so I had some low lows for sure. I was tired, but I was also restless. Like I couldn't sleep, but I was tired all day. And I'm like, okay, I just need like to eat better. I just need to like do some push-ups. I just need some melatonin. Like, you know, I was just trying all these different things. And I was like, yo, this is just getting worse. Like I can't even function. But for a long time, I was just like, I got to figure it out. Cause that's what I grew up knowing, like just figure it out. And it took me like having like not being able to breathe, laying on the ground to be like, yo, there's something bigger going on here, that I'm dealing with. I never got like diagnosed for sure. So I don't want to like just say, oh, it was this or that. I know a lot of the things I was dealing with were like symptoms of depression. I don't know how low it was, but it gave me like this very tremendous empathy for like everybody that goes through that. That's why like whenever I think about like what you were going through, it's like I feel that now. Like it may not have looked the exact same way, but like it's different than before. So in a way, I'm grateful for having to go through that experience because now I can empathize with others. You know?
That's how I view my past traumas and experience. Obviously, I'm not thrilled or happy it happened, but I can look at it in a thankful, appreciative way, where I'm now in that place where I can understand, be empathetic, and I can hopefully give somebody an outlet when like I didn't have at the time.
Yeah.
If I can be that for them, then okay, like fine, I'll accept it. You know.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing though, right? To be able to turn your pain into like a way to help other people. You're doing that right now, even with this podcast, which is again, like sometimes when I was like still trying to figure out what I was going through, and then hearing like a guest come on and talk about what they were going through, like that meant a lot, you know. That's something that like no matter what happens, you've always given the world that, you know.
Thank you. Wow,
good.
you're just hyping me up today.
Yeah, I'm here.
I needed it after this week. This week was a little hard for me just with work, and so like I appreciate you.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just like very in this mood because I haven't had much sleep. You know, I'm a little delirious, so maybe
it's just the lack of sleep talking.
Yeah, it makes me positive, I guess. So
perfect.
Maybe I should just keep not sleeping.
Maybe no more melatonin.
Yeah, that's not healthy. I'm not recommending that to anybody. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
But Bumble BFFs.
Oh right? Yes.
So I watched some of your episode with Susie.
Susie.
Right? Susie.
Shout out to Susie.
That's another thing that's really like beautiful about aligning your purpose, your values, and kind of seeing that upward trajectory. There's always somebody else. It's always a community thing. We can't do these things alone. You know? And so just kind of seeing that you met like a friend on Bumble BFFs was like dope.
She's now my best friend.
That's crazy.
The first day, the week we matched, we met up. We went to the gym together. That was like our first friend date. We have seen each other every single week, and we talk every single day. Yeah. I have never had that kind of friendship with any girl before.
That's crazy.
So at first, I was kind of like, okay, like you seem a very outgoing, extroverted person. I'm not gonna like read into it too much, but very quickly, her and I clicked, and I was literally telling somebody this today because they were wondering how I met Susie. And I told like, oh, online Bumble BFF. And they correct like, isn't that weird? Like, don't you just only do that for dating? I'm like, well, if you do that for dating, why wouldn't you do that for meeting a friend? Yeah. So it was honest. It was my first time ever like really connecting with somebody in that way. And I don't regret a single thing. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. I wish I had the same experience as you. I downloaded it. I was never really a dating app person because I just felt like there was something like really beautiful about just like meeting a person in person. I guess I don't know. So I moved to a new city, and I was like, let me try Bumble BFF because I wanted to have people on the podcast. So like I'm currently like recording episodes, but I thought a good way to like meet new people was like Bumble BFF. But that didn't work. It just didn't work. I don't know. I just didn't like have connections with people. So then I was like, okay, let me go to the dating and like pretend that I'm going to like go on dates with people, but I really just want people for the podcast. That didn't work either. That didn't work either.
First day, I can just picture you being like, all right, let's start talking about really deep personal stuff.
Yeah, like, I'm ready to get to it. Like,
are you shy in front of the camera? Yeah. Because if you aren't, like, let's go, baby.
Right. But I think I might have just needed a better setup. You know, like the one you have here with the colors and the lights and the comfortable couch.
Yes, the couch is definitely,
Yeah, and non-alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic,
yeah. But that's really cool. To Susie though.
Yeah, so if you've listened to some of the other episodes, January was a really crazy time. You know, left my relationship, I started a new job, and like basically two of my close best friends, that friendship ended. And I was having a little bit of my identity crisis. Like, okay, you knew your new me, but who's the new me? I don't know right now. So I thought, and I think it's hard harder as an adult to meet new people, to become friends, especially if you're not in school, you're not in a club, if you're not somewhere regularly meeting the same people. Like, how do you meet anybody? So I thought, I have nothing to lose. It's always been harder for me to connect with girls. And I thought, let me just see, maybe if it's like I can decide and they decide, like, consensually, we're both deciding that we're down with what we're seeing. Like, let's hang out. And it was a pretty good experience. I only had it for maybe a month. But I met 5 girls from there, and we followed each other's social media and still chat and all that. But I thought it was a pretty cool way to start my year.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it was intentional too. I used to think that like good things happen accidentally, right? Like if I try too hard, it's gonna mess it up. We're not in that space anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing now that I'm being a lot more intentional about the things that I want and getting them. Like people like that. Like people, I won't say fall in line, but and I don't want to say like the universe either, because I don't want to. I don't want to sound like that guy.
It's okay. Sound like that guy. Go for it. Safe space.
No.
Safe space.
This is a safe space though. But yeah, I mean, I'm a very spiritual person. I believe in God, and I believe in God's ability to kind of guide you as you navigate things. And one of the most important things I think I learned was I gotta just like try stuff. And God, if you don't want me to do this, just stop it. At the top of the year, I was like, I'm gonna like do everything, every idea I have, I'm just gonna try to make it happen, and you stop me if it's wrong. And I've seen like some things stop, some things grow, and being intentional about that has changed everything. And I would recommend to anybody out there, of course, do therapy. Right. Of course, try some yoga, meditation, get like a good amount of sleep. But also, just try stuff. Just try stuff. I mean, you kind of just winged it and went on Bumble BFF, and I think it's changed your life for the better. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was literally, I think I was sitting on my desk and was just kind of like, well, I know there's Bumble BFF. Yeah. Let me just download it and see what happens. But I like what you said right now, where, just try. And if you believe in God, the universe, whoever's listening, I believe in God as well. But if it's not meant to be, it will be very clearly stated no. Yeah. And I think that was part of what helped me get through my big transitional period, was just, God, if like this is no longer meant to be my life, just make it clear right now and help me have the patience to understand and accept it.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. Submission, like, and this is faith. This is faith in a nutshell. It's like, I want this thing really bad, but bring me peace if it's not for me, and bring me peace with what I do have. Because sometimes the things that we need to do, we got to go through some stuff. Like, as much as I hated the lowest lows in my life, like, they've prepared me for the highs that are coming, and all along the way, I'm able to like help people, relate to people. I'm able to emotionally support a lot of people because now I have empathy. Before somebody said they were dealing with something, it was just like, okay, I'm here for you. I'm listening. But now like you can feel it. And you can't really quantify how important it is to feel what somebody's feeling. And it's beautiful. And that's all God, right?
Yeah.
That's all God.
Yeah. No, sometimes I'm like, God, take the freaking wheel, because I don't know where I'm going. Yeah. But I'm just gonna be like in the passenger seat, hoping for the best.
Yeah. I also had an interesting religious upbringing, where of course like you kind of are told to believe one way, and I had to go through my experiences of being like, I need to figure out what else is out there. I need to learn about a lot of other ideas, research them, and ultimately I didn't have any faith for like a while, like years. But it took things that like were impossible, that I can't attribute to anything human, anything rational, anything logical, to bring me back. And so when people talk about their faith or they talk about their walk, I'm not going to try to convince you of anything. I can tell you what, what happened to me. And I can tell you how beautiful this is on this side. And more importantly, I can treat you in a way that I believe God would want me to treat you. And that just means everything. And because I can't convince you to believe what I believe,
right?
But I can show you what that looks like.
Yeah.
And so there's not a lot of judgment that I carry, which is good for podcasting because anybody can come on your podcast. But yeah, it's all about love for me, for sure. And one thing that I appreciate about the space that you've kind of created is, I don't know if like love is like your top ethic, but like the way you treat people, the way you treat the different people of different walks of life that come on here, it's dope. Yep, that's another compliment.
Oh.
Yep.
Gas me up. No, thank you.
Yeah. Do you take compliments well?
Honestly, I've been trying to be really better about it this year. I think I get really awkward and I'm just like, okay, thanks. Like, let's let's move along. But a big part of my reflection, I've been trying to just accept them. And I'm not graceful at it yet, clearly. But, like I just have to accept, like, okay, you're being genuine and sincere. And makes me feel good that you can see that through how I do the podcast, because I would say love is definitely up there for me. And I just reflect to how I was treated as a kid, because I used to get severely bullied. Like dealing with stuff with my mom, my upbringing. I've always been very intentional of how can I make sure other people don't feel that way I did.
Yeah, man. There's so many people in the world that don't think like that though. They're like, yo, people make me feel this way, so I got to make other people feel this way. And sometimes not intentional. It's just like, yo, I got bullied or people mess with me and it made me feel inadequate. So now in order for me to feel more adequate, I need to make other people feel inadequate. And it's so great that like you didn't do that at all. But also, I'm going to keep complimenting you because I like making people uncomfortable in a healthy way, not in a weird way. Okay. But it's crazy. We first met because I gave you a compliment. Do you remember that?
I remember it was in Angwin. I don't remember the compliment, I'll be honest, but you can remind me.
Yeah. You had a tattoo somewhere, like really visible, like on your arm. Yes.
My Bible verse one?
Yes, your Bible verse one. And I didn't even believe in that at the time. But I was like, I like it. Like, it's cool. Because it's like 1, 2, 3, isn't it?
Yeah, James 1, 2, 3.
James 1, 2, and 3. So something about the numbers, like, kind of going in order. I don't know what it was, but I was just like, I like your tat. And we started talking. And then the next day you put me in your short film.
I literally remember it was like one of the very first weeks of my freshman year, and we were chatting in Angwin, and then I had a film project that was due like that week, and I was like, hey, you be my film.
Yeah, that was my debut, my acting debut. I haven't done any acting since. That was fun, but I don't know if that's one of like the projects you look fondly on, because I know you got a lot better as you progressed.
It's definitely not my baby, but it was my very first project in undergrad ever. So I was actually thinking about it today before you came over. I was like, yeah, Palmer Hall, like, it's not a great film, but I did it in a week with classmates. It was my first one.
Yeah. That was crazy. Like, going from like having no experience acting. Well, I had some like as a kid, but going from that to like starring in a horror film.
If you're listening, I'm gonna link the video so you can watch it.
No, don't.
I acted in it as well, and I am not a good actor. So
do not watch what's in the link, okay, or like what's in the bio. Don't watch the link in the bio, because I lost my chapstick the day before, so like
crusty lip.
Yeah, my lips were dry that whole time, and I was like licking them before each shot.
You're just outing yourself. No one would have known until now.
Yeah. Okay, I guess you guys can watch it. Yeah. But like, don't make fun of me too much. I actually like when people make fun of me though.
Yeah. I like the banter. It's just, why do we have to be so serious all the time?
All the time.
Because
like life is serious.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Can't smile. Why are you smiling? Stop.
Got him.
Yeah, you got. It's the wine though. It loosened me
It's
up.
the wine that has no alcohol in it. Really.
Yeah.
It's the like the placebo effect.
Yep.
It's totally
There
the
it is.
placebo effect.
Whatever it is, I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. You talked about going through a period where like you lost a lot of relationships. That's something I can relate to a bit. So as you're kind of growing and evolving, do you think that was good for you?
Oh yeah. Honestly, I think that was like one of the best worst things that could have happened. 100%. I'm just in a much better headspace. I feel my best. I'm surrounded with people that are pushing me to grow and are like-minded. And I think the hard times, if you allow it, will teach you a lot of lessons you need to learn. And there's definitely, and I'm not saying like I'm perfect, but I was able to really work on the stuff that I was not showing up for. Like 2022 Zyra versus 2023 Zyra, like we've done a lot of growth and reflecting. So I'm like, I've been very intentional about like, okay, let's not repeat the same things that were happening last year,
Yeah, it's a game changer when you do that, right? And I know on my end, like, unfortunately, I had to like be the one to end some like relationships, end some things, because I knew I wasn't investing enough emotionally in the things that I felt called to do. And that was hard, especially when like, you really like somebody, they really like you, like you're kind of building something, and then just being like, hey, look, the emotional investment I'm giving in you, I need to give that to like my purpose. And it wouldn't be fair to you to not be present. Cause like I'm very like in relationships, dating, whatever, like I want to like continue. It's like an ongoing process of learning someone, getting to know someone, their evolutions, how they change, right? And being a part of that. It's a beautiful thing. You got to be present a lot though. And I don't want to like commit to being present when I can't do that. I don't want to be the guy that's like always arguing about like work or me, or like I can't do that. I don't want to do that, right? Like so that was tough, but like you said, I think it's rewarding, even though sometimes like relationships just don't fit into what you're doing at the time. I think for me it came down to making sure I don't mistake like love and companionship, having someone next to me doesn't mean that like I'm loving them the way they need to be loved, and that they're loving me the way I need to be loved. I'm big on like love languages.
What are yours before you continue?
See, I was trying to sound deep. I haven't taken a test in like 2 years. It changed. The first time I took it was like 5 years ago, and it was quality time was at the top. And then physical touch was at the top. But that was during the pandemic, and I didn't have any physical like interaction with anybody. So I'm interested to see what it is now. What are yours?
So definitely quality time, acts of service. Then I would say physical touch would be mixed with words of affirmation, and then gifts is the last one. My past relationships would say physical touch was like the very bottom, but I've realized it's because I haven't felt completely safe or allowed to be in my feminine to express myself in a way that I could feel comfortable. So that's been a big learning curve for this year. But those are mine.
That's so wild to me. It's something that like fascinates me every time, because like when I would go on dates or I'll just hang out with like women, they'd always be like, I don't usually feel safe, and I appreciate feeling safe. I'm like, that's such a low bar. I feel like what does that mean? Right? Like, but the fact that like so many people experience just like not feeling safe, and it might be you really like enjoy physical touch, it's just you haven't felt safe. That's crazy.
And you know what? I think it's literally that, because if you would have seen me when I was way younger, I was wanting hugs all the time, cuddling. That was so me. And then so I went through certain things, and with, past relationships, I was definitely very in my masculine of like, let me take care of everything, which wouldn't allow me the space to want to be taken care of or to express affection or anything. So that was a big thing I realized through therapy this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I need to, okay, we need to work on that first.
Yeah. I think the thing about therapy that's cool too is when you have an issue, they're not really like fixing it for you. They're telling you like, these are some things you can try to do to dig deeper into that issue and start to heal.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to ignore the issue, and I'm also not going to fix it for you. And so that was like something that was like really beautiful. And to see you kind of do that too. That's the
Yeah, you get to really like, we're going to acknowledge the dirty laundry in your closet, and then let's fold it together and put it away.
Yeah. But yeah, back to love languages. If I were to guess right now, today, I'd probably say it's quality time. And with an asterisk of quality, not quantity, right?
Yeah.
Some of my closest friends, I talk to them like once every 6 months, once every 3 months. But it means like the world to me because I have so much love for them, right? And I don't need to like constantly be in communication. But being able to spend like quality time with like the people that you care about, or just as you're kind of growing, right? Like you said, you see Susie like once a week, right? Like no matter what, that consistency, that's everything, right? That's quality. But some people would be like, yo, like you guys aren't best friends. You only see each other once a week.
Right. Some people would be like shitting on it.
Like, you guys aren't living together. Like, is it really like real?
Right. No, I think I've realized the quality over the quantity is a big one for me. Like for me, a big thing with quantity.
Quality?
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's really not the wine because there's nothing in here to make me the quality.
I'm telling you.
It's the being able to experience something with somebody. Like the experience is what I love the most. And so whether it's like having this podcast or experiencing this together, going on a trip, or just just something even small, big, like it doesn't matter. It's just that like that connection. That's what I like.
Yeah. I notice it when I see, if you ever seen people outside a restaurant, like standing outside their car talking for like hours in the parking lot, it's like, yo, that's beautiful. Because that's maybe the only quality time they can get for like who knows how long, right? But just the fact that like, I don't even want to leave your presence right now. I know I got work in the morning, but
it always hits a little different when you're like, okay, it's time to wrap it up, and you're like, well, let's keep talking.
Like 3 hours later, you're like, yeah. We needed that though. This is really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. So the other topics we had on the list.
So it was the people pleasing and selflessness.
Oh my goodness.
Which I think that one's a really good one.
How do you define love?
Oh, that's a really good. Okay, I need more
we need some.
wine.
We need to take an intermission.
Oh my! I know, for real. How would I define love? Oh my god. I guess when it's not conditional, like you are putting yourself out there, you're being vulnerable with no expectations of receiving it. Kind of like what you would typically see with like a parent and a child. Like the parent's gonna love their child, but you're not doing it with the expectation they have to serve you back.
Right.
I think for me, that's how I would define that love is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I define love as like selflessness, in one word, selflessness. But I don't want to misconstrue that with people pleasing, right? Because there are people, whether it's family members, romantic partners, whatever, that will manipulate you by having you believe that meeting their needs, pleasing them, is what love is. I don't believe in that. And so a lot of people, though, they'll like deny themselves of basic human needs, just because they want to make another person feel loved.
Yeah.
But that's not love, right? Like for me, love is selflessness. It's not people pleasing. For me, love is saying, hey, like, you are like more important than me. Not that I'm not important, right? But like, I want to serve you as best as I can.
You're putting the other person first.
Exactly. So like for me, like I try to put like everybody first. Like I put the world first, which is, I don't know if that's smart because the world kind of sucks, but I believe I'm optimistic, especially with the people around me that I have, and the people that are in various spaces doing cool things like this, right? Like just showing care. Like I don't see an ounce of hate in this room, you know. And maybe I'm just like, my radar's off.
I hope not. I hope I
But
don't give
you know,
up any.
there's no selfishness, there's no ego here. We're just like, you know, like you care. I've seen you care about people, and that means a lot to me. And in essence, that's what love is. It isn't something like super complicated. It's also not denying yourself everything just to make another person feel good. It's not being completely ignorant of, hey, I need to sleep, you know, or like, hey, I have a life and like a purpose and I'm working towards that. It's just like along the way, how can you serve others? Like for me, that's love. And so whether it's with a romantic partner, a friend, or whatever, it's like, how can I, you know, be of assistance to you? It may look more like acts of service. It may look more like quality time. It may look more like words of affirmation. And so I don't always like ask people what their love languages are, but like my friends, I try to like figure out over time, like what do they like appreciate the most?
Yeah.
And also sometimes like what are they lacking?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't even know like how great something is because we never felt it. I know for me, like it was compliments too. Like I didn't get a lot of like compliments on stuff. So like I didn't know that was important to me. But later on when people would say like, hey, like, you know, it's really great that you did X, Y, Z. I really noticed this. I'm like, man, that kind of warms my heart a little bit.
Like,
maybe words of affirmation, you know. But I grew up only focusing on like on the negative things that were going on. If I got a 98 on a paper, I was like, yo, how do I get 100? That 2% is like important. You know, I was kind of just wired that way. Like I just kind of blocked out the positive stuff. Now like I welcome it all, especially the negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very well said.
Appreciate that. It's the wine. I'm telling you.
Non-alcoholic wine, people.
Yeah. You got to get on this.
I definitely struggled with people pleasing severely growing up. I think with the example of what love was with my relationship with my mom, it was very conditional. Like you need to do X, Y, and Z to be worthy of love. And that's how I was trained. Like, okay, I need to bend over backwards, make sure I don't stir the boat with anybody. That way they don't leave me. Because I had severe abandonment issues growing up, for sure. Like, honestly, up until halfway through college, I would say. And having to work through that in therapy and really reflect on it and get to the point like, okay, am I doing this because I genuinely want to, or am I doing this out of fear and trying to be proactive of my anxiety? And it's been very interesting to kind of reflect, and then just having to take space for myself, like, okay, let me love myself, because like I need to do that first before anybody can give me, because if I don't have that within myself, then it's never going to be enough when people want to show me love. Like it's never going to be completely filling my cup. And I one of the books, the very first books I read after starting therapy was Self-Compassion by Dr. Kristen Neff. I've mentioned it a bunch of times on the podcast, but that book changed my life. Like giving yourself this grace, compassion, and love first, because then you're in the place where, okay, I can now be selfless and giving love. Yeah,
that's a good caveat. I appreciate you saying that. You gotta love yourself before you can be like love others truly. You have to. That was something I struggled with too in different ways. And you can't really serve without having something in your cup to give away, right? You definitely can't serve on an empty cup. And you can't serve without loving yourself first. Yeah. Because how can you love other people, right?
Exactly. Yeah, if you're constantly empty, you can't be there for anybody else.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And what are some ways where you've tried to make sure like you're giving yourself some love?
I mentioned some of those things before. Like, I really be doing yoga sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not consistent enough, but
You're like, okay.
yeah. It helps when, like, I'm randomly good at a thing when I start it. So, like, I just randomly was, like, pretty flexible. So, like, okay, I can do this. Like, it's still hard because my body will get, like, my knees will lock up. I have terrible knees. But, yeah, so I would say yoga is definitely one. I used to do it for, like, the practical stuff for my knees. But once I realized it is kind of dope to just, like, not think about stuff.
Yeah.
Because my mind's always moving. Or just let my mind float while I'm going through these flows. It's beautiful. So yoga's one. I listen to a lot of gospel music. It puts me in a good space, especially in the morning. And at night, if I like starting in my days with that, beautiful. But a lot of music in general will be really good for me. One thing I was doing in therapy was journaling. Honestly, it's why like I stopped going to therapy because I got so good at like writing down what I was feeling and where that connected to what in my body and what events in my past.
Oh, stop.
Like, yeah, connected to that. Once I got to that place, I would show up to the session and she'd be like, she'd ask me questions and I'd have answers. And then she would kind of look like, she would have a quick look of like, what are we even doing here? But then she'd ask me something else to like try to engage me. And I was like, yeah, I think I might have like graduated for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so writing helps a lot as well. And legitimately like loving others well. Like that gives me like energy. Like when I can have like a good phone call or like meet up with someone and really kind of pour into whatever they need, that like energizes me. Like I feel good about that. But it's also because it's not coming from a place of people pleasing because I'm not doing it for the sake of like trying to get anything out of it or doing it because I feel like we might not be close if I don't do this thing. It's just like, this is just a function of how I feel about you.
Yeah.
You know, like serving you is just like, it's just a benefit of like what we've already created. And sometimes that's with people that you meet randomly, and sometimes with people you've known for like a long time. It can be either or. So I would say those are some things that I do to take care of myself. But I also admit I'm probably not the best to take care of myself. I'm a little weird. I get away with it for now, but soon I'm going to need therapy. For sure. Yeah.
Those are some good ones.
Yeah.
For me, I think the biggest one was learning how to say no. Because I was yes man all the time. Wow. And so learning to place like, you know what? No, I don't want to go out. No, I don't want to go to this thing. No, I'm not going to go out of my way to do this when it's going to be at the cost of me, like my rest, my time, like just learning how to like, okay, like I'm allowed to say no and it's okay. I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a bad friend.
Right.
Like, just, that was the big thing, like giving myself grace for that space to just like put my foot down. I think other ways to show myself love is just trying to tap into the inner child in me. Like yesterday, this whole weekend, I'm home alone because my family's on vacation. Okay. So like I've been taking advantage of the space. Yeah. So I was cooking last night. I blasted music. I was singing my butt off because no one's at home.
What was one of the songs?
Okay, so Somebody Used to Know. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That was a good one. Yeah. I was in it. Yeah. There's one called Blame Brett by The Beaches. That one's my number one right now on repeat.
Never heard it. I'm gonna
that one's
play it on the ride back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll show you.
Okay. Bet.
I was literally here editing. I had my lights on, listened to music, just vibing. I had some wine. My cat was there. Just like, let me just have some time where I don't have to like talk to anybody, and I can just do some me. Yeah. Those have been some of my big ones recently.
Okay. So back to learning how to say no. What was that process like? Did you just stop one day and you were just like, no to everything? Or?
I think it came down to just almost having a meltdown at some point. Because I'm introverted and extroverted. I'm ambivert. on paper, going out sounds amazing,
Yeah.
but then comes down to it, and I'm like, I really don't want to go out.
Yeah.
And, or, you know, friends want to come over, but I really should be working on something else, or I'm exhausted and I don't want to socialize, but I would say yes because I would feel bad. And it just got to the point where I had an anxiety attack where I'm like,
Yeah.
I literally cannot even freaking answer this text because I'm so fogged up. So it came to that point, unfortunately, where I was just like, you know, I just have to start saying no.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I realized it's not that big of a deal as I thought it was. Like one time I had a friend come over, texting me, he's like, hey, can I come over? I said, well, I'm going to be editing. He's like, well, can I still hang out?
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry, but no.
No.
I'm like, no, sorry, I'm busy, I'm working. Like, it's not a big deal. It's okay.
Yeah.
And if they make you feel like it's a big deal, they probably should go.
Yeah. And that's a them problem now. Right? I never really had that problem saying no. I think I heard no so much.
It's just innately in your vocabulary.
Like my parents, they're not going to let me do something if they don't want to let me do it. Like there was no convincing them. It was just no.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I carried that on. And sometimes I say no to things that like, maybe I should have hung out.
Yeah.
I might have needed that interaction because I'm the same way. I'm an ambivert. I think that's how I describe myself because like I'm really social.
Yeah.
But I recharge alone. I gotta have my me time. Yeah.
I like one-on-ones like this. Love it all day, every day.
Yeah.
Like very chill, low key. If it's a big group, I give it like 2-3 hours max. I'm like, I'm ready to go home, unwind, and just not even talk to anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you really observant?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say so.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I also like one-on-ones a lot. I could do that all the time. But that's also because like I like to like learn about people.
Yeah.
And in group settings, I'm learning about a lot of people at once. And so it can get kind of like my processing.
It's just a lot
heavy.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I'm watching everybody. I was like the really nerdy kid. Like as a young kid, I had like the questionable haircuts and like the little like thin glasses. And I would just watch people. I always loved sitting in the back of the class. Just like watching like every single person, like I'm like building a file, I guess. Is that creepy?
No.
That didn't sound good. You know when that voice goes higher?
No, it's okay. No, people watching. Like,
Yeah.
I love people watching. I think it's fun.
Yeah, but like I got like a real like database. Like I got a file. I might have a Zyra file. Yeah. See, now it's creepy.
No,
See?
I mean,
See?
maybe.
But yeah, I always loved doing that. But it's kind of obvious when people like see you're in the group and you're just sitting there like looking at everybody. So I made it a point to like learn how to be like, sometimes I have to be the center of attention while still watching everyone. Like I'm talking, like I'll make a joke, we're laughing, but I'm watching you. I'm watching how you react to like, see,
The way you said
it sounds bad.
I'm watching you.
It sounds bad.
No judgment for me.
Yeah.
No judgment.
Yeah. But yeah, so us fellow ambiverts,
Yeah.
I get you.
Okay, thank you.
Get you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Could do this all day, like this one-on-one stuff. It's amazing.
I don't know. I just thrive with it. I love learning about people. I love talking about anything and everything. And especially when it's like a good interaction like this where you can just keep like you feed off of each other. It's great. Yeah.
All we need is more wine.
Well, I think we have a little less than half a bottle left.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm saying we might need to take an intermission and get some more. Yeah.
Well, we've like covered a lot of different topics.
We did.
And then damn, like this episode flew by.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Are there any other, remarks or snippets? Do you want to plug in your soon to be coming out podcast?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna plug some stuff. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, we got purple for his podcast color.
But first, I do want to reiterate the point. If you get nothing else out of this, love yourself so you can love others. You got to do that. You got to do that. And then yes, time for plugs.
Yeah.
So, Lon Legend is my social media handle, Instagram. That's where like a lot of the announcements will come. About podcasts, about like a book that I'm working on, a lot of the different things that I'm doing. And the podcast itself is called Let the Chips Fall. It's about taking risks. People from all walks of life can be on there. I stole that from Zyra. So people come on and they talk about the different risks they've made, whether in business, lessons they've learned from those risks. So that can be, in mental health, you know, it can be in relationships. We all kind of like take chances at different points in our life, and we all have to learn from it. And I'm selfish, so I want to learn the lessons so that I don't have to make those same mistakes.
Let me learn from you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's my, and not in a creepy way. Now I'm not just like watching the person. Now they're telling me about themselves, even though I already knew that because I was watching them.
So like it's socially acceptable now.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, you can find it at on Instagram, but by the time I really get going, it'll be on YouTube. It'll be on OnlyFans. Is that weird?
No.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring some positivity to OnlyFans. So I'm going to put it on there, probably Patreon as well.
Oh, nice.
It'll be like a free podcast, but like I want to put it in places where people can support if they want to.
That's what I need to start doing.
Yeah.
I've had people tell me I should do a Patreon, and I'm like,
For sure.
the imposter syndrome in me is like, well, why do you really do it? But no, it's a good idea.
Yo.
So, okay, we're recording right now. It is the end of June. What is the time frame estimate, you think? Like, I know you have your goal amount of episodes.
So remember I said earlier, we need to be okay with things taking a lot of time. No. Yeah, so my goal, I want to record 20 episodes before I start dropping them. Us podcasters in the community, we know that 99% of podcasts, they fail. They never reach past episode 20. So I want to be part of the 1% before I even start dropping. So I'm in the process of recording, editing, that whole shebang. I also want to attach a business onto it, where I can provide services, where I'm setting up businesses for people. The whole process, especially with LLCs, nonprofits, that type of thing.
So I'm probably gonna reach out to you with my future business. Yeah.
For sure. Because I do that all day for work right now. So I figured why not make that a service that I can provide to a lot of like entrepreneurs coming up, a lot of people our age that have ideas but don't know whether it's like the legal side, the contractual side, that don't know just where to start, you know, can kind of do consulting for them. And then also, you know, they can come on the podcast and I can show them or they can show people with my podcast what the things are that they do. So I know you got some business ideas. So
yes,
when it's your time, you're going to come on the podcast too. We got some fun.
Yeah.
And a lot of non-alcoholic wine for sure.
And a lot for sure. Yeah, but probably maybe by the time this episode comes out, you'll be closer to releasing.
Yeah, definitely. We get closer every day for sure.
Yes.
But I want to say too, your nails are amazing. Oh. You came in a great like fit, got the necklace on. Like, yeah.
So these are my real nails, and I paint them myself. So we're gonna we'll flex it.
Yeah. Hey, and while we're doing that, I do my own hair. So that's also part of the self-care too. I'll have a cup of like ashwagandha tea.
Oh, don't get me started on ashwagandha tea.
Yeah. You know, real ones, no.
Yeah.
Real one, you got some here?
I have, I think, vitamins, not the tea, but yeah.
Got you. Yeah. So ashwagandha tea, and I also like do my hair. It takes a long time, but the process. I was bald like 3 years ago.
No hair on there.
Yeah. So like to see that evolution and things constantly like moving and growing, it's kind of like symbolic of like how I'm moving and growing.
Love that.
And especially like when like I feel like I haven't made much progress. When I look at my hair, I'm like, I guess I did.
No, you see,
know, because it's growing. Yeah,
that's great. No, that's pretty long.
Yeah,
it looks good.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing, document your journey on like everything. It doesn't have to be for TikTok, for content, anything like that. Like, just like enjoy the process, fall in love with the process, and document it because you'll look back at yourself. Whether it's like you're journaling about your life, like your emotions or whatever, business, anything like that. If you document it, it's way sweeter to look back and be like, wow, I actually came a long way. The things that I was once praying for, I've already gotten them, and I'm on to bigger things that I'm praying for now. But I don't want to lose the gratitude for like where I came from. It's beautiful, man.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for being on the pod.
Oh, man. Honestly, like this is a dream of mine. You know, the almighty Zyra, complex like wine. I don't like, this is probably a bad thing to say as a podcaster, I don't like mini podcasts. Because either they're not like, I'm not like entertained by them or I'm not like learning something, but you have that like happy medium. And that's another thing I'm stealing from you. But yeah, I appreciate it. This has been such a great space. and such a great conversation.
Yeah.
And to see you kind of like continue to evolve, both as a person and as a businesswoman, you know, it's fascinating. I love it. That's the last compliment. That's it.
You're making my night. You're making my whole month at this point. Well, yeah, no. So I'm going to plug his social media in the bio. And then if his podcast is all up and running, that's going to be included in the bio too. Yeah. But definitely stay in tune for that.
And if nothing else, like right now, put the picture, the cover, the podcast cover.
Yeah. We'll definitely include that.
Right now.
Right here.
Yeah,
right now.
That's what you're looking at right now. It's beautiful, isn't it? I know. The homie Jeremy made it. Shout out to him.
Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here because, man, this episode flew by. It's before this ends up being a whole nother long one. Yeah. But, yeah, thanks again for tuning in. If you guys like the lights set up, I'm looking at the cameras and I am a fan personally.
I am too.
I think it looks
I can't wait to look at myself.
If you haven't already, please like, rate, subscribe, share with friends or family. If you're interested in being on the podcast, please email me. I have my website up so you can book me directly through that. And I love you all so much. Thanks for tuning in for another week. And we'll see you next one. Bye.
Peace. I hope we leave that in.
I'm going to leave that in. Bye.